Before we begin, viewer discretion is strongly advised. The following is for educational and entertainment purposes only. This is the verbatim federal court documentation of Ellen DeGeneres' arrest as reported by multiple credible news outlets. If you want to stay informed about this developing story that has shocked the entertainment world, please take a moment to like this video and subscribe. Ordinary Tuesday morning turned into one of the most extraordinary days in entertainment history. Ellen DeGeneres, the comedian and former talk show host who built her brand on kindness, was arrested at a private airfield in Costa Rica. Legal troubles. The arrest comes after months of rumors and whispers throughout Hollywood, but nobody could have predicted the bombshell revelations that followed. Federal agents working in conjunction with international authorities intercepted DeGeneres as she attempted toward a private jet, reportedly bound for a non-extradition country. According to eyewitnesses, DeGeneres appeared shocked when confronted by authorities, repeatedly stating, "This is all a misunderstanding," as she was placed in handcuffs. What exactly was she running from and why now? The answer came hours later when prosecutors held an emergency press conference revealing the connection that has left the entertainment industry reeling. Ellen DeGeneres has been named as a key figure in the expanding investigation into Diddy's alleged criminal enterprise. Documents seized from her Costa Rica villa reportedly contain evidence of financial transactions, private communications, and compromising recordings that create a direct link between DeGeneres and activities currently at the center of the Diddy investigation. This isn't just another celebrity scandal, it's the unraveling of a carefully constructed public persona that fooled millions for decades. What follows is the complete account of how Ellen DeGeneres' empire crumbled, what authorities discovered, and how this connection to Diddy was finally exposed to the world. I'm standing outside the federal courthouse in Los Angeles. Just moments ago, officials confirmed that Ellen DeGeneres has been extradited from Costa Rica and is now in federal custody. The streets are lined with shocked fans and media outlets from around the world, all trying to make sense of how the once beloved talk show host could be at the center of what prosecutors are calling one of the most sophisticated criminal operations ever uncovered in the entertainment industry. The mood here is one of disbelief. For over 2 decades, Ellen DeGeneres was America's daytime television sweetheart. Her catchphrase, "Be kind to one another," became a cult touchstone, but behind that carefully crafted public image, federal authorities now alleged something far more sinister was taking place. According to court documents unsealed this morning, Ellen DeGeneres has been operating as a financial facilitator for a network of high-profile individuals, various business ventures. The first hint that something was amiss came 3 months ago, when former Ellen Show executive producer Jonathan Norman made a seemingly innocuous comment during his testimony in the Diddy case. When asked about certain financial arrangements, Norman mentioned the L protocol, a phrase that caught the attention of federal investigators and set off an intensive investigation that culminated in yesterday's arrest in the hushed courtroom. This morning, the lead prosecutor addressed the judge with a solemnity that matched the gravity of the charges. "Your Honor, what we're presenting today isn't just evidence of financial crimes, it's evidence of a deliberate long-term deception of the American public by someone who positioned herself as a champion of kindness while allegedly facilitating serious criminal activity." The courtroom, packed with journalists and legal observers, fell completely silent as the prosecutor continued, and perhaps most disturbingly, when Miss DeGeneres became aware that her connection to Mr. Commons was about to be exposed, she attempted to flee the country rather than face these allegations. It started like any other day in the ongoing investigation. Prosecutors were methodically building their case against the music mogul, reviewing financial records and interviewing witnesses. Few expected any major developments when Jonathan Norman, who had worked with Ellen for years before their falling out in 20, casually mentioned the Ellen protocol during cross-examination. The room changed. Prosecutors' heads snapped up. Defense attorneys exchanged nervous glances. The judge asked Norman to clarify what he meant by the term. "It was what we called the process for handling certain financial matters," explained, his voice steady but his posture tense. "Specific events, specific vendors, specific payments that had to be managed differently than everything else." Ellen was extremely particular about those transactions. When pressed further, Norman revealed that he had witnessed numerous meetings between Ellen and individuals connected to Diddy's business interests. These weren't social calls. He testified they were structured, serious discussions that always took place off-site, never at the studio, and were never recorded in her official calendar. Norman described how Ellen maintained 2 separate business operations: her public enterprises that were meticulously documented and transparent, and a shadow operation that handled what staff referred to as special projects. The rule was simple: Norman stated everything related to the special projects went through Ellen directly. No exceptions, were never under any circumstances to mention those projects to anyone outside the inner circle. As Norman's testimony continued, he revealed that his falling out with Ellen hadn't been about creative differences as publicly claimed. It happened after he questioned a series of unusual payments that coincided with visits from associates of Diddy. I noticed a pattern, he explained. Every time certain individuals visited, large sums would move through our charitable foundation, split into smaller amounts and then get redirected to various LLCs. When I brought my concerns to Ellen, she became extremely agitated. She told me I was overthinking things and should focus on my actual job. 2 weeks later, Norman was terminated, allegedly for creating a hostile work environment. This revelation aligned with other stories that emerged during Elon's 2020 workplace controversy, but added a disturbing dimension to the narrative. Following Norman's testimony, federal investigators began examining Elon's financial records more closely. What they found painted a troubling picture: millions of dollars moving through her businesses, charities and investment vehicles, and patterns consistent with sophisticated money laundering operations. But the investigation might have remained in the financial realm if not for what happened next. I've kept this inside for too long, said Andy Eleanor, Ellen's former executive producer, as he took the stand a week after Norman's testimony. Eleanor had been Ellen's right-hand man for 17 years, standing by her side through the show's greatest successes and its eventual downfall. I've won 18 Emmy Awards, I've produced over 3,000 episodes of television, I've built a career I was proud of, Eleanor said, his voice trembling slightly. Eleanor turned slightly toward the prosecution. You're only seeing the financial side, there's so much more. He explained that his role had evolved over the years from simple show producer to something more complex. Ellen trusted me completely at first. Trust felt like a privilege later. It became a burden. According to Eleanor, when Ellen was struggling to rebuild her career after coming out, she was vulnerable. Then Eleanor explained her sitcom had been canceled. Diddy, already a force in entertainment, offered Ellen something invaluable: support, when few would give it, and connections to rebuild her career. But that support, Eleanor testified, came with strings attached. As Ellen's new show took off, Diddy would occasionally ask for favors, small things at first: VIP treatment for certain guests, private meetings with sponsors, introductions to net executives. Nothing overtly illegal, but as Ellen's power grew, so did the requests. By 2010, according to Eleanor, Ellen's businesses had become a key component in what he called the network, a system for moving money, influence, and information among a select group of entertainment elites. The most damning revelation came when Lesnar described the storage unit. Ellen maintained a private storage facility in Burbank under a shell company name. I visited it with her 3 times. It contained physical records, hard drives, and recording devices. She called it her insurance policy. Lesnar described how Ellen had methodically documented every interaction with Diddy and others in the network. She wasn't just a participant, she was protecting herself. She recorded everything: phone calls, meetings, transactions. She kept meticulous records of who requested what and when. When asked why Ellen would take such risks, Lesnar's answer stunned the courtroom. By the time she realized what she had become involved in, it was too late to get out. Comedian, that was the performance of her life. And it was a performance she could never stop giving, because too many powerful people needed her to maintain that image. Storage unit, what they found there, provided the final piece needed to issue an arrest warrant for Ellen Janes. As the investigation deepened, unknown Sofia Martinez, Ellen's former chief of staff, testified about the elaborate system Ellen had developed to compartmentalize her life and business dealing. There were 3 distinct zones in Ellen's world, Martinez explained. Green zone was public-facing. The show official appearances, documented charity work. Yellow zone was private but legitimate, real estate investments, personal time, family matters. Red zone was completely off books. The meetings, calls, transactions that were never to be documented through official channels. Martinez described how staff were classified according to which zones they had access to. Most employees were green zone only. They saw exactly what the public saw. Ellen, the entertainer, Ellen, the philanthropist, a small group had yellow zone access only. 5 people, to my knowledge, had any awareness of red zone activities. This compartmentalization allowed Ellen to maintain her public persona while allegedly facilitating activities for Diddy and others. Ellen's kindness brand because that's all they ever witnessed. Martinez testified that Ellen enforced this separation through a combination of extreme generosity and implicit threats. She could be incredibly giving, helping staff with medical bills, offering amazing opportunities, sending extravagant gifts, but there was always an understanding that this generosity came with absolute loyalty. Those who questioned things or expressed concerns would find themselves marginalized, then eventually pushed out with carefully crafted explanations that preserved it was never a direct. Martinez clarified Ellen would say things like, "I've given you so much, I just need to know, I can trust you completely," or "This business destroys people who don't protect each other." The message was clear. What had seemed like celebrity ego and perfectionism was revealed as a systematic approach to maintaining control and ensuring, called the special calendar, a private scheduling system that tracked red zone meetings and events. These appointments were never in her official schedule. Could access this calendar allegedly showed regular meetings with Diddy and his associates, often coinciding with major financial movements through Elon's various business entities. Most disturbing was Martinez's description of how new staff were tested before being granted greater access. Ellen would create artificial ethical dilemmas, asking people to lie on her behalf about small things or to bend rules in minor ways. Those who refused would never advance, was confident they would do whatever was needed, while the investigation continued to uncover disturbing details about Elon's operations. There was still the question of what triggered her sudden flight attempt. Did she decide to flee? The answer came from an unexpected source. Ellen's wife, Portia de Rossi, in a closed-door session with prosecutors, portions of which were later included in court filings. De Rossi revealed the breaking point that sent Ellen running for the border. According to Dossie's statement, the couple had been at their Los Angeles home when Ellen received a phone call that left her visibly shaken. After the call, Ellen immediately began making arrangements to leave the country, explaining to De Rossi only that Diddy's people are talking and my name is coming up. Dossie described how Ellen became increasingly paranoid in days that followed, destroying phones, formatting computers, and contacting associates with urgent instructions about handling certain documents and accounts. She was terrified in a way I'd never seen before. De Rossi stated, "She kept saying they were never supposed to connect it all back to me." Ellen received a text message containing only a series of numbers. When she saw those numbers, all color drained from her face. Dossie recalled, "She said we have to go now, and within hours we were on a plane to Costa Rica." Believing her wife's explanation that she was being targeted unfairly because of her celebrity status and previous controversies. It was only after they arrived in Costa Rica, and Ellen began making arrangements for a second escape, that Dossie became suspicious enough to contact her own attorney. While Dossie was speaking with her lawyer, Ellen allegedly received another message that sent her into a panic. "Whatever happens, I need you to tell everyone. I was set up." Ellen told Dossie, according to the statement, "Promise me you'll say I was framed." De Rossi, increasingly concerned about her own legal exposure, made the difficult decision to contact authorities. Her information allowed federal agents to coordinate with Costa Rican officials to intercept Ellen before she could flee to a non-extradition country. Court documents revealed that the record coordinates the location of her secret storage facility in Burbank. The message was Elon's notification that her insurance policy had been compromised following her arrest. Authorities discovered Elon had been in the process of transferring over $1 million to various offshore accounts and had been preparing new identification documents, suggesting she had been planning this escape route for some time. Waiting for the moment it became necessary, the courtroom fell silent as Ellen DeGeneres was led in for her arraignment. Her trademark blonde hair disheveled, her familiar, bright clothing replaced by a standard-issue jumpsuit. Gone was the confident, smiling entertainer who had danced through television studios for decades. In her place was a woman who appeared simultaneously defiant and defeated. Judge Miranda Carlton presided over the proceedings with a gravity that matched the moment. "Miss DeGeneres, you are charged with money laundering, tax evasion, conspiracy to commit fraud, and flight to avoid prosecution. Do you plead?" Ellen's attorney began to speak, but she interrupted him. "I'd like to address the court directly, Your Honor," she said, her voice lacking its usual warmth and humor. The judge considered the request for a moment before nodding. Ellen stood, ignoring her lawyer's attempts to dissuade her, looked around the packed courtroom, making eye contact with several former colleagues who were present for over 20 years. "I ended every show by saying, Be kind to one another. And I meant it. That wasn't the lie. The lie was pretending our industry allows anyone to succeed through kindness alone. The prosecutor objected, but the judge allowed Ellen to continue, recognizing the historical significance of the moment. Built my career twice. Ellen continued. The first time I lost everything by telling the truth about who I am. The second time I promised myself I would never be vulnerable again. When Diddy offered me protection, connections, a way to insulate myself from an industry that had once discarded me, I took it. She paused, seeming to consider her next words carefully. Years. By the time I understood what I was really part of, I was in too deep. The Ellen brand, the businesses, the charities, they were real. The good we did was real, but they also served another purpose. Ellen looked directly at the prosecutor. I'm not going to stand here and pretend I was an innocent victim. I made choices, but I also want the court to understand that in our industry, power isn't just about money or fame. It's about who controls the narrative. For 20 years, I controlled my narrative by giving people what they wanted to see, and now that narrative is being rewritten without my consent. Our lawyer again tried to intervene, but Ellen waved him off. I'm not asking for sympathy, Your Honor, but I am asking for context. People alive, and yes, eventually I became part of that system. She then addressed her former staff members present in the courtroom. To those I heard along the way, those who saw behind the curtain and were pushed aside to protect the illusion, you deserved better. The kindness was real, but the fear was real too. I was trapped in a persona of my own creation. Finally, Ellen turned back to the judge. I'll accept whatever punishment this court deems appropriate for my action. But I want one thing on the record. I wasn't running from justice. I was running from Diddy, because when someone like that believes you might talk, there are worse things than prison. The judge thanked Ellen for her statement, then proceeded with the formal arraignment. As the charges were read in detail, the full scope of allegations became clear. Over 15 years of financial crimes involving hundreds of millions of dollars, all hidden behind the sunny smile of one of America's most beloved entertainers. Ellen DeGeneres, the woman who had built an empire on kindness, pleaded not guilty to all charges. The look in her eyes as she was led from the courtroom told a different story, one of resignation and perhaps relief that the performance was finally over. When Ellen DeGeneres was led out of the courtroom in handcuffs, she didn't look like the powerful media mogul who had once commanded a media